Hey there, and welcome. So today we're diving into a really cool question. Could a simple cocoa supplement actually be a secret weapon for your heart as you get older? We're going to break down the science behind a recent study that put this exact idea to the test. So let's get into it and see what the evidence really says.
I mean, it sounds almost too good to be true, right? The idea that something that comes from the same plant as chocolate could have a real, measurable impact on our health as we age. But, that's exactly what researchers wanted to find out.
Now, to understand why cocoa could even be a factor here, we first need to talk about a hidden threat that comes along with getting older. It's a process that happens, well, pretty quietly inside all of us.
And that threat has a name, inflammaging. The best way to think about it is like a slow, smoldering fire inside your body. It's this low-grade but constant state of inflammation that just kind of creeps up as we age. Now, this isn't the kind of inflammation you see when you get a cut. This is a whole-body process that's linked to some of the biggest health challenges we face, especially heart disease.
And this is not some small niche problem. Projections show that by the year 2060, a full quarter of the entire population will be 65 or older. So yeah, finding ways to fight back against inflammaging is more urgent than ever.
Okay, so with that pretty serious problem in mind, a group of scientists designed an experiment to see if they could find a potential solution in a very, very unexpected place.
So, why cocoa? Well, the reason comes down to these powerful plant-based antioxidants called flavanols. See, previous research had already hinted that these little compounds are pretty good for our cardiovascular system. So the next logical step was to see if they could directly take on those markers of inflammation. And here's how they did it. They got a group of older adults and split them in two. For 2 full years, one group took a 500 milligram cocoa extract supplement every single day, while the other group got a placebo, a fake pill. The scientists then tracked key things in their blood at the very beginning, then again at 1 year, and finally at the 2-year mark to see what, if anything, had changed.
So, after all that, what did 2 years of data actually show? Well, the answer was hiding in the participants' blood tests, and it was time to decode them.
Now, the researchers were looking at a few different things, but one of them really stood out. It's called hsCRP. You can basically think of this as a warning light on your body's dashboard. When your levels of hsCRP are high, it's a major red flag for inflammation. And frankly, it's a well-known predictor for an increased risk of heart attack and stroke.
All right, so here's the headline. What happened to the hsCRP levels in the group that was actually taking the cocoa supplement? Get this. They saw an annual drop of about 8%. That is a really significant reduction in this key inflammation marker.
And looking at this chart just makes it so clear. The placebo group, well, they saw basically zero change in their hsCRP levels year after year. But that cocoa group had that consistent, measurable 8% decrease. This just perfectly shows the supplement's specific impact.
But, the story is always a bit more nuanced. The supplement also boosted a protein that's involved in our immune system. On the flip side, it didn't seem to affect the other inflammation markers they were measuring in a big way. And interestingly, the benefits were most obvious in people who already had higher levels of inflammation when the whole study began.
Okay, these results are definitely exciting. But before we all rush out to buy cocoa supplements, we absolutely have to put these findings in context. And for that, we need an expert's dose of reality.
Dr. Raj Dasgupta, who reviewed the study, said the results are encouraging. And that makes sense. That 8% drop in hsCRP is promising, for sure. But he's quick to point out that it is not a guarantee of protection from heart disease. It's a positive signal, not a magic bullet.
And honestly, this is the most critical takeaway of all. Dr. Dasgupta really emphasizes that supplements can never ever replace the basics. The real foundation of good health is and always will be your lifestyle, what you eat, how much you move, how well you sleep, and not smoking.
This slide just lays it all out perfectly. On one side, you have the core, the non-negotiable strategies for a healthy heart. And on the other, you have what Dr. Dasgupta calls a promising add-on. The cocoa supplement fits right into that second category. It's something that might help, but only after that foundation is rock solid.
So, after looking at the science, the numbers, and the expert opinion, what's the real bottom line for your health?
Okay, let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. First, cocoa supplements show real promise for lowering one specific, very important marker of inflammation. But, and this is a huge but, they are absolutely not a substitute for diet and exercise. It's also worth remembering they might work best if you already have elevated inflammation. And finally, like with any supplement, it is so important to talk to your doctor before adding it to your routine.
You know, this study opens up such a fascinating window into how tiny compounds in our food can affect how we age, right down to the cellular level. It really leaves us with a final, compelling question. What other powerful health secrets are still hiding in the everyday foods we eat?